And a great time to bring in our next session, which takes a look at what it will take for the insurance business to continue growing after 2020. George Kesselman, President of Asia Insurtech Association, will moderate the discussion. Joining the panel are Shawn Lau, Vice President of Partnership Solutions at Swiss Re, Ryan Kim, Chief Digital Officer of FWD, and Arijit Chakraborty, Managing Director of Asia at CoverGenius. We will explore what new technology applications we can expect for Insurtech and dig deep into the key ingredients that will allow this industry to scale. And now over to George and his panel for the discussion on scaling Insurtech.
Thank you very much.
And then shape the policy recommendations, right? And then go back to
scale in Insurtech. And I also have a perfect panel for it. So together with me in the studio here, I have Arijit, the MD for Asia at CoverGenius, one of the fastest growing Insurtechs globally. I think we've started the journey together with Arijit, come from insurance background to the Insurtech background, building Insurtech from very early stages. And I also have Ryan, who is the Chief Digital Officer at FWD. He's looking after the global agenda of FWD, also FWD being one of the first pioneers in digital when it comes to insurance. And Shawn, having gone from the background of insurance, also gone to previously to working at Grab. We saw some of the incredible numbers that coming out from Grab, and I think again like the 40 million policies that was issued at Grab, I think is really something that is very, very important as part of today's topic. So Shawn is now working at Swiss Re, looking after the partnerships between the reinsurer, which is the insurer for the insurers, working with them on the Insurtech partnerships. So today's topic of achieving the scale of in Insurtech, I think is a very, very critical one. The really important part of it is about, it's not just about doing something, it's about achieving this critical scale. And I think what we've seen this year is really examples of this being the example of achieving that critical scale. So first, what I want to do is I want to start off with Arijit to...
Ryan.
What's that? Ryan. Yes, Ryan, I introduced.
Okay.
Yep. With that, I'd like to start with Arijit in terms of the actual where and how have Insurtech have achieved the scale in the region. So if you don't mind, get us started today.
Sure. Thanks, George, for the introduction, and it's a very good question. So to answer this, first we need to understand there are different forms of Insurtech. So first, Insurtech is, you will see system integrators, who are working with digitizing insurance companies. Zedetech is one of the examples of that. Then you are looking at Insurtechs, which are in relation to in terms of like CoverGenius, like a full stack Insurtech company. What it does, it enables and powers online distribution platforms to come up with a contextual insurance solution which people can buy as an in-path journey. So if you are at a Grab or ride-hailing, or if you are at an e-commerce or like a Lazada, you're buying a product and we can customize insurance for that, and people can buy. So I think it's scratching the surface in terms of that sort of a development. But usually what you will see is marketplaces or price comparison sites, example Policy Bazaar. I think that people have moved to a more advanced stages in certain markets where it is a B2C platform and people can see exactly what you are, what you buy for, and generally you go for the cheapest product which is possible. So that's, I think, is in advanced stages. The other piece which is also there are people who are powering one aspect of the value chain in insurance. For example, they're automating claims, or they're automating distribution or funneling, or they're automating operations, or using telematics or parametric method. I think we are at a very beginning stage in those stages. So various different forms of insurance have various sort of growth potentials.
Excellent. I think that's a very good point. So Ryan, if you don't mind taking your worldview.
Thank you. So I think there are two aspects. Of course, the technology maturity has already been out there. So using that, and especially through this pandemic situation, a lot of Insurtech actually are in the very favorable position to actually get organizations and insurance companies' digitization plan accelerated faster. So I'll just pick on chatbot as an example. I mean, the first chatbot, Eliza, was actually the design and built in 1966. And now the chatbot, it has evolved, and that is actually providing not just for 24 hours by 7 days a week sort of service, but is also sort of like providing more personalized components to the customer, where we actually use the technology to fulfill customers' the protection needs in the insurance industry. So my point here is now the technology is out there, and the maturity is there, and Insurtech companies are actually heavily focusing on the certain technologies area such as AI, blockchain, and chatbot. And nowadays we are seeing more and more of Insurtech companies actually packaging those the technology component into one and provide holistic solutions to our insurance sector. And as we can learn from the fintech and the bank partners relationship, I guess the Insurtech company as well as the traditional players can now work together and form a sort of ecosystem where we can actually provide additional value to the customer. I think the two good examples will be, first of all, like a Lemonade, which is well known to everybody, is actually using their AI machine learning, the chatbot, to actually provide more customized services, and that became the probably one of the key success factor. And also at the same time, we're seeing the new technology getting embedded into our insurance industry, such as the US-based company like the Drop-In is actually using the drone technology to capture the evidence of the disaster scene, so that we can actually quickly provide the assessment of the damages and required adjustment. So we are seeing quite an interesting dynamics in two different angles. One is, as I have mentioned, using the technology and becoming more mature and provide more the quality solution, as well as the new technology components actually getting embedded into overall Insurtech and insurance business.
I think those are excellent points, and definitely the technology maturity drives this naturally, that synergy between the maturity and the scale. And I think this is a very, very good point about that. So Shawn, from your perspective, both I guess as a Swiss Re and your past experience at working inside of one of the big platforms in the region, can you share where you think that where the Insurtech achieved this scale?
Yeah, I think, thanks George. I think there are plenty of examples globally, right? And one mentioned by Ryan is really Lemonade, and Lemonade, the likes of Lemonade and OneConnect have actually had great IPOs in the US recently, right? And this is in this part of the world where we are hearing the first of many success stories about Insurtechs going public and having proven use cases. Jonghoon Insurance, as shared by Bill earlier, is also had a great growth story over the last couple of years, starting on from just doing solely micro-transit insurance products to becoming a massive player in the space. So the best part of it is that the same will likely start happening in Southeast Asia soon, where we are all based in, right? And trust me, the time at Grab and now at Swiss Re has allowed me first-hand exposure into some of the great technology that is coming out of our region. So we see the likes of Koala, ZA Tech, Sunday Insurance trying to shake the industry up with their visions and plans, and truly walking the talk by implementing solutions that have never ever been thought about, much less implemented by carriers themselves. And this has really forced carriers like incumbents like NTUC carving out a separate entity, a digital transformation office, just to test out innovative insurance solutions in bite-sized fashion, right, and largely lifestyle-driven in nature. So this may be something that conventional businesses would traditionally have frowned at, but by having that digital transformation team front these new initiatives, they're able to take on a more agile approach when it comes to new product initiatives. And I think that really exemplifies how the industry is, how Insurtechs have started having a say in how products are developed and how products can be distributed. So one key factor behind this is really attributed to the entrance of fresh non-insurance minds that marries former senior insurance executives in order to push such new ideas through. And I think if there's one thing in common across all insurtechs, it is that they are all innovating at speed in at least one area of the insurance value chain that has traditionally belonged to the mainstream carrier. So the intent of driving change by being focused on a few niche areas will serve them well as they look to disrupt the conventionally dinosaur-like processes and mindsets. And I think what will be critical for insurtechs is to continue ensuring that this mindset to innovate and disrupt continues, rather than being overly comfortable once they reach a certain scale.
Excellent. No, I think those are also very, very good points. And I guess what I'm carrying from your inputs is that we've seen that the clusters of scale have achieved, have been surfacing in US with Lemonade, in China, in India. Those are kind of the big domestic markets, and they naturally have that scale so that they, as Insurtech grows and lifts, I think this is naturally creates those clusters. And I think Southeast Asia is starting to see that same type of dynamic emerging here in terms of that scale. And I really also like your point about the talent being one of the driving forces. So both the technology maturity, the talent coming in is really driving and accelerating this scalability. So the second question that I wanted to cover in the panel today is how did COVID, how did the pandemic that we're in right now have accelerated and impacted the Insurtech? And with this one, I'd like to start with Ryan, please.
Yeah, thanks, George. So, I mean, we've already seen how the COVID-19 situation has been accelerating for digitization area. The COVID-19 pandemic has shifted enterprise mindset for sure. We observed that the people were surprisingly quick and nimble in adopting new way of working and new way of actually interacting with any types of industry, any types of business. The technology maturity has, as I said, been out there quite some time. What changed is that before COVID, as user, most of us haven't been ready to leverage these technologies properly. The pandemic has provided that it is viable for all of us to live and work in a different way. The pre-COVID routine will not come back exactly the same way, even after whole situation gets recovered, I guess. As a result, in insurance sector, especially at FWD, we have been piloted the various digital initiatives that can actually help change the way we interact with customer and offer our product and services. And FWD is in the process of migrating and building a number of services into the cloud for the scalability purpose, which will lead to meet customers' demands faster and easier. So a lot of experiments, a lot of pilot has been done in the insurance industry. And one other thing I want to point out here is that this COVID-19 situation sort of provided us an opportunity to actually get whole digitization the faster and an accelerated manner. And for that, the key is actually how do we actually leverage the data to be able to provide customer with the protection needs and provide the best personalized outcome. And we have been going through building the cloud-based data lake as a single source of the truth, which then can be leveraged off for the product development and reaching out to the customer in more the optimized manner and so on and so forth. So we are seeing more and more of this whole technology components becoming the core critical part of actually serving our customer better. And that's actually in line with our company vision to change the way people feel about insurance. One last thing I want to point out here is, given this insurance industry is a highly regulated business, it's good to see that a lot of the regulators are actually lowering the actual the regulatory hurdles there. During this pandemic situation, for example, Hong Kong IA has actually relaxed the remote sales the hurdle for all the insurance companies. So we're seeing very positive movement from both company with the technology standpoint as well as the regulator standpoint.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Shawn, if you don't mind sharing your view.
Yeah, I think to get started, if the COVID-19 pandemic has demonstrated anything, it is that almost anything can be done online, right? And including insurance transactions, as well as helping to validate digital-first strategies. And that has also led to Insurtechs becoming more visible and critical in the entire insurance value chain. So for a start, we see, like as Bill mentioned, right, COVID covers were developed and distributed digitally pretty quickly, much shorter than the regular product development time, with the likes of Grab, Payla, stepping up their distribution game. So this might not be huge covers, but it allowed people to realize that enrolling for insurance solutions can be such a straightforward and seamless experience. We also saw firsthand how insurers started tying up with health tech solutions to provide teleconsultation services to their clients as people become wary of leaving their homes. So these are just some examples of how the pandemic has accelerated and created more visibility about the industry as a whole. I personally know of insurance companies that had their employees on desktops and not even laptops. So when COVID struck, they actually had to scramble to get their employees laptops simply for working from home purposes, right? And I think this example showcases how far back technology-wise some part of the industry is in. So as shared earlier, insurers will be looking to see how some of these Insurtech offerings will be able to fill the gap within their existing operations that has traditionally been pieced together through like a mishmash of siloed workflows. So for an industry worth USD 1 trillion, I think that the immediate opportunity will lie with Insurtechs who can focus on the operational enablement space, which means companies that can improve and enhance existing insurance operations, especially around distribution, customer service, and claims. So it'll be an exciting space to watch out for, and I think that it's only going to carry on further after, even post this pandemic.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And Arijit?
Yeah, well, I think COVID has contributed two things. Obviously, digitization, and second is it has made also insurance very important, right? So we have seen in terms of digitization that conventional way of selling through agency or through the brokers on a face-to-face meeting may be an obsolete idea. So how do we digitize in order to reach the customer more from online is where a lot of insurance are focusing on. And second is the insurance has become more important. We have a global partnership with Skyscanner, and we rolled out within like 4 weeks COVID insurance on Skyscanner platform. And whatever OTAs we have globally, we see a 1,200% attachment rate increase in terms of insurance. So I think the whole digital is the go forward for insurance. And obviously, COVID accelerated the whole piece.
And I think that in general, that's what I think it's quite a common theme that COVID has been a catalyst for digitalization, for Insurtech, for really kind of going through this accelerated scalability exercise. And I think that it definitely is a combination of many factors that are all coming together, both from the customer expectation and from the existing distribution might not be working as well. So the insurers are more willing to go into it. There's more product innovation that we're seeing. And I think to the Ryan's point, there's definitely a lot more interest from the regulatory bodies as well to promote more of this digital solutions as well. So I'm really glad that we covered a lot of points around that. And again, it's fantastic because we have a comprehensive view. We have an Insurtech, we have a reinsurer, we have an insurer. So basically, more or less a full value chain of Insurtech we have represented here. So the last question that I want to discuss with you is around what's next for Insurtech. So now we are at the place where it feels like we've reached this inflection point in Insurtech. It's starting to really accelerate. So where is it going next? And with this one, I'd like to start with Shawn, please.
So I think we can all acknowledge that Insurtechs have definitely been helping to edge the industry forward, not just in terms of technology, but also product designs, customer experience, etc. However, a large part of this involvement still lies primarily within the P&C space. And I think one of the key breakthroughs that I'll be looking out for Insurtechs will be to start pivoting their focus towards the commercial and live market opportunities and gaps that hasn't been addressed yet, such as simply improving the overall customer experience for a start. So this will be even more interesting in the context of the Southeast Asia region, as a huge chunk of the population remains underserved and underpenetrated. I personally am very excited about the digital opportunities surrounding the untapped yet connected generation, and think that Insurtechs are best placed to fulfill that last mile delivery of these insurance solutions to the previously undiscovered population segment. So I'm going to sit tight and watch how these new tech disruptors continue driving change in this traditionally pretty slow to change industry.
Excellent. Arijit?
I think the Insurtech is the future of insurance, and one of the aspects I will highlight is embedded finance or embedded insurance will be the future. So you don't have to go and buy directly from an insurance company any insurance protection you want. It's a part of your lifestyle. So if you are at a e-commerce buying a product, you are actually doing just a checkbox sort of a in-part journey and buying a protection for the product. If you are at the OT or airline buying a ticket, you are just covering your protection for the trip by, again, a one-point clicking and buying the protection. If you are at ride hailing, you are just buying a personal accident for the ride. So I think the embedded finance is going to be the future in relation to finding customized, contextual protection to cover your risk rather than the conventional way of distribution of insurance products, which is really difficult to understand what you are buying and what you are paying for. I think that's the future.
Thank you. And Ryan?
Yeah, I think the product standpoint, and there is an interesting parallel in banking where the savings habits, and there is still a limited number of complicated structured products sold in the digital channels, such as the wealth management product. I think in insurance sector, as Shawn and Arijit just mentioned, more and more of the complicated, the long-term life insurance product will be sort of like, will become the going through sort of like the product, the solution and sales via the Insurtech going in the overall digital channel. And last point is that data and AI and cloud first strategy will continue to become the key themes. Having said that, the remaining the big room here is, in our view, the human element will continue to become the crucial for life insurance. So it is going to be increasingly supported by digital technology to fulfill those the human elements as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think it's been a fantastic panel. I really enjoyed it. I think it definitely sounds like we are at a very unique time in the Insurtech journey where things are just going to continue growing, continue exploding in a very, very positive way. So again, thank you very much for joining, and let's continue this conversation.
Thank you, George, and thanks so much to your panel as well for the insights into how Insurtech will scale in the years to come.